name is Andrea Emery, and I'm the teacher of the Snowy Owls.
Hi, I'm Gracie Sessoms. I'm the teacher in the Barn Owl classroom.
And I'm Hillary Hines-Luthi, and I am the teacher in the Horned Owl classroom.
Hi, I'm Gracie, and I'm going to talk about the Montessori Science and Cultural Curriculum. In a Montessori classroom, we have 5 umbrella lessons to introduce the different science and cultural subjects that we teach throughout the year. The first one is the coming of the universe. So we start with the Big Bang. We do a life cycle of a star, or stellar nucleosynthesis, which is the birth of the elements. We don't do all of these things in 1 year, but we rotate them in a 3-year cycle. This can also lead into the birth of the solar system, phases of the moon. Let's see, constellations. It's very vast and it's very fun and interesting, and the kids love it. The purpose of this is not memorization, but just to give them a vibrant, impressionistic idea of how many different avenues the curriculum can go and just where we come from as well. The second great lesson is the coming of the Earth. So we do the Earth history timeline, which can be an introduction to vertebrates, invertebrates, the mollusk, nomenclature, which kind of gives them a segue into continent study that we do every spring, and we focus on 2 continents each year. The children learn about flags, they learn about human needs, fundamental needs of humans, and then we get into the third lesson, which is the coming of humans, early human development, Australopithecines. Also, I forgot to talk about Earth science, the parts of a volcano, which is always a good one, and layers of the Earth. There are so many wonderful things that the children can learn about in our science and cultural curriculum. The fourth great lesson is the coming of language, which we talk about different ways people can communicate, sign language, ancient ways of communication, petroglyphs, cuneiform tablets, hieroglyphics, that sort of thing, and they love it. There's just an appeal about ancient Egypt and all those different ancient cultures and ways people began to communicate. And then the 5th great lesson is the coming of math and science, where we talk about ancient counting systems, Roman numerals, just different ways that counting became also important for survival and ways of life. There's so many other things too that the 5 great lessons can lead into, such as animal reports, botany, parts of a leaf, parts of a tree, parts of a flower, and then how these things can relate to biomes in the different continents and continent study. So it's really an exciting thing. All the different avenues that the children can learn about when we get into science and cultural. So in a nutshell, that is the introduction to the Montessori 5 great lessons.
Hello, my name's Andrea, and I am going to talk about the Montessori language curriculum. The first part of the Montessori language curriculum is reading. Reading's really important, of course, in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade age level. And we do reading in a variety of ways. The children do silent reading. They read with a reading volunteer, reading parent. They do group reading. We do reading with Scholastic News, which is a weekly newsletter that has some current events in it. And we also they also read their work to a teacher or assistant as they come up and show their work. The next area is spelling, and we assess all of the children at the beginning of the year for spelling, and then the children are placed in different spelling groups, and each week they get their word list, and they do a variety of activities with them, but by the end of the week we have a spelling test. And then we also have handwriting, and I have some handwriting books here. So we typically start off with making sure that they can print well, and they use this handwriting book. And then they go into cursive, and they practice their cursive handwriting, and then continue practice cursive handwriting even more. So we've got 2 different cursive handwriting books, a beginning and a more advanced book. Then the next area we have is word study. Word study encompasses a lot of different areas, and you may hear your child talking about the Rainbow Tower. And we have a Rainbow Tower in every classroom. The Rainbow Tower covers a lot of different things, such as alphabetical order, suffix, prefix, homonyms, homographs, homophones, etc. There's a lot of different ones, and the children use cards to lay out that work. We also have phonograms for the younger students who are still just learning how to read, and this is like a TH, the th phonogram, and so there's objects in the phonogram boxes that they can match up with the words so they can learn their phonograms. The other one that we have that's an important part of the language curriculum is the grammar. And we have the Montessori symbols for grammar, and each of them has a really fun story behind them, and we teach the kids each of these every year. We do about 1, maybe 2 a month, and we always start off with a noun, which is depicted as a large black triangle. So if you see these symbols above words, it's because they are labeling them for the different parts of speech in grammar. And then last, we have a variety of ways that we do writing and poetry with the children throughout the year. Research projects, name poems, etc. The language curriculum is a wonderful, all-encompassing curriculum in the Montessori program.
Hi, I'm Hillary, and I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the lower elementary math curriculum. So kids in lower L have the opportunity to explore a wide variety of math subjects. So we have time and money, measurement and fractions, geometry, and good old-fashioned arithmetic. Now, by arithmetic, I might mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And we divide those subjects into 2 parts. We've got facts and operations. So facts would be anything that you would be expected eventually to memorize, to be just, this is true, like 2 + 2 is 4. I know that. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to figure it out. I just know that 2 + 2 is 4. And then operations would be something that you would be expected to either figure it out in your head using some kind of process, or with a pencil and a pen or some manipulatives to figure it out. So when you start out in lower elementary, quite a few of our first years do not have their facts committed to memory. We're used to that. They may be using counters, counting on their fingers. They may be using other Montessori manipulatives. And then they also get a lot of practice on their facts by doing operations. Now, typically you might think of learning math starting small with those facts because they're tiny and easy to manage and manipulate. Then moving up to, say, 2-digit addition, and then maybe 3-digit addition, and then 4 on up. We like to start them out at 4-digit addition. So this would be an example of how lower elementary starts to move from concrete ideas to abstract ideas. That goes along with many different subjects in lower elementary. We're moving from the preschool concrete idea to more abstract ideas, both in language and in numerals, things like that. So we would start out with something like a bead. So a unit like this would be 1 unit, 1 bead. And then, oops, it's sticking to my finger. And then we have a bead bar of 10 bars, or 10 beads rather. And then we actually have a material that would show you 100 beads all laced together, but this is moving slightly, ever so slightly, into more abstract. This is an abstraction of those 100 beads. And once again, this is an abstraction of the 1,000 cube. So there's no actual beads in here, but it represents the 1,000 cube. So then we might start them on some, having introduced those materials, start them on some operations like this, using these concrete materials that represent the volume of what we're actually talking about. And the next step would be, once they've grasped that concept, moving on to the abstraction of the stamp game. It's still a concrete material in that it uses these manipulatives, but instead of having the small, bigger, bigger, bigger dynamic, we're using all of these are the same little stamps. So what they would do is they would get a problem on their piece of paper or on a card that they would translate to a piece of paper like this. And they would take their stamps and they would fill in these blanks with their stamps. And then they start in the units place. And I like to have them march their stamps 2 by 2. They don't have to be all face up like this, but this way they can see, for example, here is 6. It is a rectangle, a nice clean rectangle. It's even. And here is a 5. It's got a rectangle with a little odd man out, so it's odd. Okay, so starting with the units, we add these together, push them down here, and see what it makes. So I make my little square, and I have the odd one out. And so there I have 2 units plus 3 units equals 5 units. And I would go ahead and write that down as I do that. Then we have a little bit of dynamic addition here. So we move these all down to one spot, and we have 6 plus 5. It's a little hard to do with one hand here. And we can tell that these are too many to stay in this one spot. We've got a 10 here with a 1 sticking out here, so this is 11. So we want to make an exchange. We're going to take these 10 stamps and we're going to put them in the bank and exchange them for 100 stamp. So that's where it starts to get a little more abstract. Is this 100 is the same as these 10 stamps. And we're left with just one little 10 stamp right here. Okay? And then continuing, we have 2 plus 4 is a nice even 6, like so. And 3 plus 2 is 5. Now I kind of skipped a step there actually, because what I would have them do when we made that exchange is be sure to write that down. So as we did that exchange over here, 6 plus 5 is 11, and I would put that 1 that we exchanged up here so that I know that that is 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 6. So this right here is your progression from the concrete to the slightly less concrete, more abstract, to the purely abstract numerals.
Hello, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can help your child at home. And the number one thing is just to listen to them. Often kids aren't ready to tell about their day right at the end of the school day. So let them share some things or ask a specific question. What did you do in math today? Or did you enjoy what we packed you for lunch? And sometimes just a little bit of a prompt will help them share. And sometimes they're just like, my day was fine. And it's just, they did so much during the day, they just can't talk about it right away. The second one is to read to them, continue to read to them. All of us teachers read to the students daily. It's so important, even as they are learning to read on their own, to continue to read to them. Also listen to them read as they start to develop their reading skills even more. Another one is to have a consistent homework schedule. So homework folders will come home Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, we leave out a specific homework and we say do a family connections, do a puzzle together, fold laundry together, go on a walk outside or a bike ride, and also practice for your spelling test, which is typically on Friday if it's a full week. But otherwise, you should see the homework folder coming home Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with homework in it. Then the last thing, and Hillary touched on it in her math curriculum, but the facts test. All of the students do facts tests a few times a week and to memorize their facts. We want them to know 5 + 5 is 10 without having to count it on their fingers. So find out what facts test your child is working on and then work on that and whatever works for your family. For my family, it was always, reviewing those facts while driving in the car. Just 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference in facts. So if they're on adding twos, then you're going to say, what's 8 + 2? 10. What's 2 + 5? 7, and so on and so forth. One more thing that is so important for first, second, and third graders is to know how to tie their shoes. If they were in our Montessori preschool program, they usually got a chance to practice that. However, in first, second, and third, we really need the children to know how to tie their shoes. In fact, if they come up to a teacher, we ask them to find a friend to tie their shoes. So please practice and have your child learn how to tie their shoes at home. I know today with Velcro and slip-on shoes, that can go out the wayside, but eventually your child will need to know how to tie their shoes. So it's such an important skill and practical life lesson to know how to do at this age group. Thank you so much for your support on that.